Jonathan, vous êtes le MC?
Oui, je suis le MC, mais ensemble avec l'équipe de Kung Fu.
Très bien. Ben, je vous laisse faire.
Good afternoon to
Jonathan,
you.
can I record on my side as well?
Yes, please, you can start recording. Thank you. And good afternoon to the Creation Africa entrepreneurs and to all those who are right now on the Coco platform. So it is once again a pleasure to be with you this afternoon for this masterclass. And today we have the pleasure to have the ambassador in the room. So it's such a pleasure. And I will let the ambassador introduce the speaker of the day. And then after that, I believe that we'll have to kick off. And the masterclass is a 2 hours long masterclass. And as you are familiar with this kind of masterclasses, you know, that's sometimes so quick that, you know, you feel that 2 hours is just like 45 minutes or 15 minutes sometimes, since the knowledge that you get from this masterclass is just inexpressible in a way. And we believe that today's masterclass is going to also be one of the best. So, Mr. Ambassador, all to you now.
Merci, Jonathan. So good afternoon, everyone. It is today my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to this 6th Creation Africa Masterclass. Thank you for joining us today. As part of our mission to boost cultural entrepreneurship in the region and to bridge the gap between creativity and commerce, and in the frame of a Creation Africa program, as you know, we have invited individuals to share their knowledge and experience and inputs into the industry. And today we are happy, and I'm particularly happy, to have Thierry Cassuto, who is an international media pioneer and a leading voice in the creative industries, as our distinguished guest and speaker. So just to introduce Thierry, Thierry Cassuto is the founder and executive producer of Both World Preachers, and his remarkable career spans over 3 decades in the fields of television, films, and animation. Some of his early achievements include the creation of a French TV network, Paris Première, extremely prestigious channel, and his key role in building the commercial French TV network M6, which is one of the leading channels in France, where he oversaw some of the channel's most successful productions. Thierry's career took an international turn when he became president for France, Belgium, and Africa of the renowned Hollywood animation studio Hanna-Barbera. And he then went on to establish TVTV, an independent production company that provided original content to all major TV networks. In 1998, Thierry, or should I say you, cher Thierry, you moved to South Africa, where you continued to excel, producing internationally acclaimed shows like the Emmy-nominated Zenu Puppet Nation, the SAFTA-winning Point of Order, and the hit Recipes for Love and Murder, now in its 2nd season. So in today's masterclass, you will explore how to balance creativity with business, and we are sure you will share your insights on building sustainable creative enterprises and navigating global markets. Drawing from your extensive experience across Europe, the US, and Africa, you will provide practical strategies for turning passion into a successful business. So without further ado, I will ask you to join me in welcoming Thierry Cassuto. And Thierry, I must say that it's a particular pleasure and a particular honor for me to be your introductor and to present you to this group. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and your talent. À toi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, cher David. Thank you for your kind words. It is indeed an honor to be invited to speak to this group of and creative entrepreneurs, this class, and I can commend IFAS and the embassy and all the associated parties for this initiative, for this wonderful initiative. I don't know if I'll be able to deliver on the objectives of this of the topic, which is to navigate the entrepreneurial journey in the creative industries. You know, navigating, you usually need a map and you need a good compass. And unfortunately, I have found out throughout my career that when you're an entrepreneur, you usually don't have a map and you don't have a compass. You have to just get it done, start navigating on your own and find your own path. But that doesn't mean that there aren't things to share, because this is what this is about. This is about sharing experiences, sharing thoughts, sharing dreams, sharing ideas, and most of all, sharing friendship and making connections. And this is really important in this world of the creative industries in particular. I would like to start with an important disclaimer. And sorry, I might have spoiled it just earlier on, I realized. A very important disclaimer. And in the very famous words of a Hollywood screenwriter, William Goldman, nobody knows anything. And this is a rule that is written in gold in Hollywood, but that everybody tends to forget. Just a few words about William Goldman. William Goldman he was known as the world's greatest screenwriter at some point. He won Academy Awards for writing such films as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or The President's Man. And some of his films grossed more than $100 million at the box office. For all that, and despite being well compensated for his services as a scriptwriter or script doctor, he considered movie writing to be a sideline. He himself thought that he was better at writing novels and plays than at scripts. Unfortunately, none of his novels or his plays achieved any kind of modest success. So this just shows that he himself doesn't know anything. He actually didn't know anything. He actually said, nobody, not now, not ever, knows the least goddamn thing about what is or isn't going to work at the box office. And that's a great paradox about Hollywood and a lot of the creative industries, which are about making money from what you like and what you can do. You know, it's called show business, not show art, but there appears to be no formula or even guideline to be successful. Just as another example, all but one of the Hollywood studios passed on Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones movie made, which became one of the most successful film franchises in history. So the reason I'm putting this disclaimer is because I don't pretend to know anything. I don't pretend to be a guru. There are a lot of gurus out there that write articles, books, social media videos, LinkedIn posts about, giving advice on everything to budding entrepreneurs. I have been an entrepreneur, and I feel that I'm still a budding entrepreneur after almost 30 years as on my own, running a production company. I have been part of large corporations before. I felt better as an entrepreneur, even though sometimes I miss the comfy world of the corporate world. But you need to be able to play the politics when you're part of the big corporate world. When you're an entrepreneur, you don't have the paycheck at the end of the month, but at least you are doing what you chose to do, and you don't play the game of politics. Nobody knows anything. If you're okay with that, let's move on to another so-called vérité, another truth. Another truth, which is success equals talent and luck, but great success equals a little more talent and a lot of luck. That's in the word of an economist and Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman. So there's a tendency in the world to believe that success is correlated with merit and highly correlated with merit. When you hear Silicon Valley billionaires talk about their success. Often they say because they're wise, because they chose the right startups, because they know they can separate, you know, the duds from the successful enterprise of the future. What they don't tell you is that 99% of their bets usually fail, and they rely on the 1% to succeed, to make money. It takes some skill. It does take some talent. You need to know what you're doing, but it takes a lot of luck. And to be very successful, you need a lot of luck, which also means that if you don't succeed, it isn't because you're not talented or because you're not skilled. You must stop kicking yourself if you don't succeed. What it means is that, you know, you haven't struck luck yet. You must just keep on doing it. This is what you need to do as an entrepreneur is, you know, you fail, you get up and do it again. But one thing you must be comfortable as an entrepreneur is that randomness of things. You don't control everything, even though you might think that you know your stuff, you know what you're doing, you have a unique skill. There's a randomness, especially in the creative industries. So if you're not comfortable with luck, there's another saying, there's another line for that, which is, in the word of another economist who's also an aphorist, and that's a beautiful one, but it's a hard one. If you want to minimize the chance of bad luck, be a dentist. What does that mean? It means that there's very little randomness in the work of a dentist. It's basically, if you're in an area where you treat poor people, you make a living, but you don't become very rich. If you're in an area where you treat rich people, there's a very strong chance you'll become pretty rich. Not a billionaire, but you'll achieve a level of comfort in life. When you're in the creative industries, there's a lot more randomness, and the choice of a dentist could be anything else. It's a stereotype. You could choose, you know, as an example, a public servant or a train conductor. What makes it is the very low variance of that income. $1 million earned from making an album or a movie doesn't have the same value as earning $1 million from the diligent and artful practice of dentistry. There's not as much dependence on luck. If you're a rock star, if you're an artist, if you're a filmmaker, if you're a producer, if you're an animator, there's a lot more randomness. So you need to be comfortable with that as well. Our goal isn't simply to minimize the influence of luck, it's also to minimize the chance that bad luck will lead to an unacceptable outcome, like starving or divorce or failing to achieve the autonomy you crave. So as an entrepreneur, this is your role, is to make sure that you are covering, you know, you do your homework and that you minimize that a bad outcome. So I don't want to impress you, but I want to give you another example, which is a lot of the advice you get out there is follow your passion. Success will follow. Follow your passion. How many times have you heard that before? I want to play a video that will show you first that, yes, this is what people say, and then will lead you to question that word of advice.
Hey, it's commencement season. I have a question. Is it sound advice to say to graduates, follow your passion? So many commencement speakers do exactly that. It's what Senator Raphael Warnock said to Bard College's 2023 class.
I challenge you to find your passion. I challenge you to find that thing in the world that feels like such a deep moral contradiction that you cannot be silent. You have to express yourself. You have to stand up and try to make the world better. find that thing that you would do for free, except that you have to pay the rent.
Senator Warnock echoing similar words from Dr. Ken Jung at UNC Greensboro back in 2019.
I encourage you, good times and bad, keep moving, keep finding your passion. And I honestly say to every single soul in this Coliseum, if I can do this, and if I can do what I want, so can you.
In fact, through the years, many esteemed leaders have given similar advice. Here are Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey both addressing Stanford graduates.
You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do.
When you're doing the work you're meant to do, it feels right. And every day is a bonus, regardless of what you're getting paid. Follow your feelings. If it feels right, move forward. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Joining me now to discuss is Scott Galloway. He's a professor of marketing at NYU Stern School of Business. He's a serial entrepreneur, the host of the Professor G podcast, and author of several best-selling books, most recently Adrift, America in 100 Charts. Scott, always great to have you. So many in Gen Z, they look up to you. So do you buy into the conventional wisdom about just follow your passion?
Michael, it's great to see you. It's terrible advice. You know, when I heard from your producer, I realized last week was the 30-year anniversary of my commencement at Berkeley. And this is a brag, I was the student commencement speaker. And then the guy after me gave the same advice, follow your passion. And in the audience was my mother, who lived her life as a secretary, who had cancer. We had $40,000 and I had a bunch of student debt, but I was supposed to go follow my passion? What utter bullshit. This is your job. Your job is to find something you're good at, invest 10,000 hours in becoming great at it, endure the sacrifice, the perseverance, the injustice that is guaranteed in the workplace, and become great at something. And become great at something that people will pay you for. You had an actor giving a commencement address. 98% of actors don't make a living. You and I both have a podcast. 1% of podcasters make 99% of revenue. Your chances of becoming a global fashion designer are 1 in 160,000. That's the bad news. The good news is, if you become great at something, the accoutrements of being great, prestige, economic security, relevance, pride, camaraderie, will make you passionate about whatever it is. When someone tells you to follow their passion or follow your passion, it means a couple things. It means they're already rich. And typically the guy telling you to follow your passion made his billions in iron ore smelting. Find something you're good at, that people will pay you for. And then making money in a capitalist society and being relevant and being able to take care of your parents, and being able to take care of your kids and take care of yourself will make you passionate about whatever that thing is. And here's the problem. People mistake passion for hobbies, and work is hard, and you will struggle. And you might stop and think, I'm not loving this. It must not be my passion. No, that's called work.
Okay, what if I'm good at it, but it sucks? It's drudgery. Is that still your advice?
No, you can't be great at anything that you think is drudgery. My first job out of UCLA was at Morgan Stanley. I got the golden ring. I got a job in investment banking. If I'd stayed there, I would have been economically secure, but I hated it. And if you hate something, you're never going to be great at it. So I left and I did something else. If you're good at something and have a shot at being great at it, by virtue of that, it means that you don't hate it. It means that you have an aptitude for it and you will start to like it more and more, because being great at something has a tremendous amount of reward. So they're oxymorons. You're never going to be great at anything that you find drudgery.
I heard your reference to 10,000 hours. So of course I think of Malcolm Gladwell. I take it you buy into that school of thought, which says you're going to really have to invest a lot of time before you are expert in whatever that chosen field might be.
Not only grit, but also perseverance. I know you, Michael. The key to our success is rejection. The only thing you know that's going to happen to you is you will get fired, and you will endure rejection. If you want to be successful professionally and romantically, the key is batting 100. What do I mean by that? If you're in the TSA or the anti-terrorist group of the FBI, you have to bat 1,000. And in the MLB, you have to bat 300. If you're willing to endure rejection, you just need to bat 100 to be ultimately successful. Try things, be aggressive, express friendship, ask people out, express romantic interest, call people you don't know and ask for an interview. And guess what? If you get rejected, that means you're on your way to success. The key to success is getting beamed in the face and then getting up again and getting back to the plate.
You know, you don't know this about me, but I delivered a commencement address a couple of years ago, and I walked through all of the times I'd been rejected in this business. All of the hosts for whom I had guest hosted thought that I had sweat equity so that when it was no longer their gig that I'd get it. And like in 5 very high profile circumstances, Scott, I didn't get the job. I don't know if it resonated that day with the grads, but that's exactly the tack that I took.
Yeah, look, people think success is a line that's up and to the right. It's not. It's a squiggly line. I'm considered a success from an entrepreneurial standpoint. I've started 9 companies. I'm generously 2, 3, and 4. And the key to my success is rejection. I have been beamed in the face. I mean, shot in the face a few times professionally and personally. And I never lost confidence. The key to success is the ability to mourn, give yourself time to be upset if you get fired or something happens terrible to you personally. There's nothing wrong with being down. And then get up and move on. That's the key. There is no person that's successful that I know that hasn't endured real failure. That's part of it. If you're skiing and you're not wiping out every once in a while, you're not going to get better. What do world-class skiers have in common? They have wiped out severely several times. That's okay. Rejection means you are on your way. But this notion that you should go into fields that have 2% employment rates, that's just a recipe for, upset. Beyonce followed her passion and is now a billionaire. Assume you are not Beyonce.
Can we do this over a drink sometime? Because I want to tell you about the 5 years that I was the fill-in host for Bill O'Reilly's radio program. And when he signed off, they said, "You're really not a known name." And they went with Fred Thompson, the actor. Same 5 years, I was Chris Matthews' fill-in for Hardball. And they said to me, "You do a great job, but we are young, liberal, and nerdy. And you are none of the above. So you're not going to get this gig. So let's catch up and have a cocktail and swap our war stories, okay?"
I just want to finish with one thing, Michael. I look at this through the context of my experience, recognizing the context and circumstances may be different and some of this may be wrong. The only thing I can tell recent grads that with 100% certainty they won't regret is write a list of everyone that was at your graduation and call them and tell them you care about them. Expressions of affection always age well. That is the only piece of advice I know to be true.
Okay, and I'm going to add to that, don't do it in an email. Write it out old school if you really want it to be heard.
Right. Sorry, it was a long video, but I thought that there's a lot to distill from what Scott Galloway says there. Don't follow your passion, follow your talent. But he says other things as well. And some of them are a bit depressing. Others are worth, keeping close to yourself, because when you are being rejected, just remember those. So all of these, 1% of podcasters, 99% of all revenue, that is true for a lot of our creative industries, unfortunately. That wealth, that success is not evenly distributed, whether it's a film at the box office, whether it's a visual artist, whether it's a musician, whether it's an actor. There's no equality there, unfortunately. 98% of actors don't get work. 1 in 160,000 shots to become a top fashion designer. Listen, I haven't independently verified that, but I think the odds are great against, and there's randomness there too. Assume you're not Beyonce. Yeah, well, you might become the new Beyonce or the new Kanye West or the new, Christian Dior. Rejection is the key to success. It's okay to wipe out. If you get beat in the face, get up and move on. really important. We all get rejections. You know, the things I remember the most are actually the days I got rejected, when I really felt like the world was falling underneath my feet. But then it's about, as he says, mourning, taking a beat, and then getting up on your feet again and saying, this is not personal. This is not about you. This is, you know, not about the player. This is about the ball. You need to play the ball. Try things. Try all sorts of things. And, you know, if you hate something, you're never going to be good at it. That's quite an obvious thing to say. And then the EQ bits: express friendship, express affection, reach out. In the creative industries, you know, it's who you are, but it's a lot about who you know. And it's not superficial. Who you know is really about being deeply enmeshed into the fabric of the creative industries. Also, not only the creative industries, but people who have money, people who have power, people who are interested in you. Because, you know, us as creative entrepreneurs, we work for the public, for the market. And we need to know who's out there ready to spend money on what we do. Last one, success is a squiggly line. That's the one line that I really could relate the most, because, you know, there's no such thing as a direct line from A to B. That squiggly line is a line of reality. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to go backwards. You're going to go forward. You're going to leap forward. You're going to suddenly be taken back. And that's the reality of life, but that's the reality of the career of an entrepreneur. And you have to be ready to do this. I have dozens of examples of, you know, opportunities that I was not expecting. Life giving me just. I had failed at an entry exam. I started my studies. I did literature. I did humanities and literature, and I didn't think I'd be interested in business ever. I failed at math. I was not good at science and not really interested in business. And I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't have a particular passion. I just knew that I loved storytelling. I loved reading. I loved movies. And I'd failed the entry exam at one of the top schools called Normal Supérieur, that trains the top teachers and academics in France. And I didn't know what I was going to do, because failing not only once, but twice was painful. And I heard an ad on the radio for a brand new school that just opened from the Guild of Book Publishers in France. They started a school for publishers, for people who want to be in the publishing industry. And I thought, that's interesting. I love literature. I love books. I could be on the other side of actually fabricating, of making, of publishing books. And I had no idea how books were made. And that was a brand new school. They were starting this out for new graduates. And I combined a Master of Arts at the Sorbonne with that particular school. And for 2 years, I just learned the craft of making something, whether it was using font, using press. In the old days, it was press to make books. The art of making a great cover, but also selling books and selling to bookstores, what the whole distribution process was, and marketing, and the business case of launching not only a publishing business, but also each book, each project. And that opened my eyes, because what I'd studied at university was just studying text, studying the great classics. But the other side is the concrete aspect of what literature is about. It's the business of literature. And that was the case even for the classics. So, and that was purely random. And one thing leading to another. The book publishing was in crisis. Has it ever not been in crisis? And I was offered a chance by that Guild of Publishers to get a scholarship along with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is, it's serendipitous that I'm doing this under the auspices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I got a scholarship to go and study in the US. because they were saying book publishing is dead. It will be replaced by video. Print is dead. It will be replaced by video, by TV and all of that. And we want people that we train, we want them to show us what the future is, and video cassettes and DVDs and all these things. And so they sent me, they paid for my, to do a Master of Science in Broadcasting at Boston University. The funny thing is that I was doing an internship at a book publisher in France, and I was doing something really boring, punching holes, just punching holes and filing receipts. I thought I'd be learning, you know, from that internship about marketing and about book publishing and how people write books. I was just punching holes. But then next door, there was an old guy smoking a big cigar who was signing books. You know, you have to sign books when you're an author so that they're given away to the critics and to influencers. And I saw that his book was about a writer from the 17th century that I'd studied when I was studying for my entry exam to Normal Supérieur. And I went up to him and said, "Oh, I love that author." It was Cardinal de Retz. And we started talking, and I realized that this old man was also a film producer. He had a company that was producing documentaries and film. And we struck up, you know, a conversation. And he said, "Well, why don't we, you know, have lunch sometime?" I said, "Sure." I had lunch, beautiful restaurant in front. I was 22. I was really young, didn't know anything. And this guy seemed to know a lot. He had been a resistant during the Second World War. He had been close to de Gaulle. He had published books. He had been an intellectual. He was an intellectual, and his name was Roger Stéphane. And he told me, "Listen, if you're going to the States, I would like you to sell film for me. The films that we make, we'd like to sell them to the US as well. And if you're there, why don't you do it?" I had no idea how to sell anything and how to sell films. And I said, "Yes, of course," because that would pay for my rent. My tuition was going to be paid by my scholarship. I still had to pay for rent and food, etc. So I said yes, and I struck up this amazing relationship with this guy that, unfortunately, you know, he passed. But this man was amazing and became a tutor, became a mentor, became an inspiration in my life. And just because I had this intuition at some point to just open the door and go talk to him when he was probably 40 years older than I was. And I just started a conversation. And just from this conversation, this opened doors for me and changed my life. Lots of different examples of just small things that if you just create that connection, if you create a bond, if you make friends and invest in that relationship, will help you go from, you know, the squiggly line that will take you forward and up. But when it takes you down, just remember that that is not the end. It will move you again. So if you're happy with navigating this uncertain squiggly line, before embarking on this journey as an entrepreneur, I would urge you to ask yourself these questions. So you think you can be an entrepreneur, right? Are you comfortable with rejection? This is really important. How comfortable are you with rejection? And you're probably an artist, you're a creator, you care about what you do. What you do is central to who you are. And as an artist, it is very difficult to take rejection. Very, very difficult. And this is where, as an entrepreneur, artist, creative entrepreneur, you've got to separate these two. As an entrepreneur, you need to take rejection. As an artist, it's difficult, but you've got to separate these two. And it's not easy. You'll feel pain, you'll feel dejected, but you must accept rejection. Secondly, being an entrepreneur is a lot about selling. It's mostly about selling. Selling your product, selling your project, selling yourself, selling your brand, selling your business plan, selling your music. And you need to be able to sell. You can't just leave it to others to sell you, to sell your work, to sell what you do. You need to be comfortable with selling. Then, how much risk can you take? Are you happy? Are you comfortable with taking risk? And how much risk can you afford? Because it's not only about appetite for risk, is can you afford not getting income at the end of the month? Do you have a family to support? Do you have parents to support? Do you have children? How personally comfortable are you with that uncertainty? And that is equally important because you always have to plan for worst case scenario. Finally, are you wired? Is your brain wired to be a creative entrepreneur? And by that, I mean that we all have a brain which, you know, and I'm going to go into that, this theory of the left-right brain, the creative side and the logical, reasonable side. I discovered this at a time when I was pretty dejected because one of my projects or several projects had failed, and I was wondering if I was in the right career. I went to see a psychologist, and he asked me lots of questions. He listened to me, asked me questions, and then he told me about this theory of the brain being divided into a right and a left hemisphere. The logical, verbal, orderly, linear, systematic side, and that other one which is meant to be your artistic side. The right side of the brain, which is good at expressing emotions, reading emotions, using imagination, being intuitive, recognizing faces, while the left side is about language, logic, critical thinking, numbers, etc. It's, you know, I don't know if there's real physiological evidence to such a division, but what I know is that the brain is about creating connections all the time. This is, you know, your brain is fired up all the time by those connections. And I think that we all have this brain, this divided brain, but this psychologist told me, he said there are very few people. He told me only 7% of the population is equally balanced between the left and the right brain. Again, something I haven't been able to confirm independently, but that's what I heard and what I read later. You know, it's a great thing to have that balance, but it's also a curse because it's like being schizophrenic. When you're very creative, your logical side will say, well, are you going to make any money from this? Why are you spending your time musing around, doodling, painting, making music, watching movies, thinking of ideas? How are you going to turn this into something that's going to be good for you and for your career? And then the other side will, when you're doing business plans and when you are thinking about your taxes and when you're thinking about financial planning, will say, sorry, what is the point of all of this? Life is too short not to enjoy the beauty of life and of this earth and not to seek the answers to, you know, the question of life. So that's the constant imbalance that you need to be able to navigate. But if you are that, then, well, what he told me, and that struck me, he asked me, can I guess your profession? Are you a producer? And I was struck, you know, I didn't tell him much about what I did. I just gave him personal insights, but not anything about my career. And he told me that because film producers, that's what they do all the time. And I think that producers are like creative entrepreneurs. They have to navigate both sides. They have to balance artistic vision with commercial viability. They have to make decisions that satisfy creative and business needs. They have to mediate between the creative teams and the executives, whether it's studio executives or financiers or sponsors, etc. You have to adapt to industry changes and at the same time maintain the vision, the creative goals. You have to network, and that means not only making friends, but also schmoozing and networking at, you know, conferences, festivals, pay the dues of attending those conferences and meeting people, some being super interesting and others that you might find boring, but you need to play the game. You know, problem solve on your feet, resolve creative and analytical challenges that arise. In film, you have to be able to not only read the scripts, but also come up with the ideas, evaluate the scripts, and project both from the artistic merit, but also the market potential. You constantly have to navigate these two things. And then as a producer, you know, the role of a fully fledged producer is to oversee the entire production process, from the initial idea to the delivery of that idea, to the delivery of a film and its distribution and its release into the marketplace. Way after everybody's disappeared from the project and a director has moved on, a writer has moved on, the actor has moved on, you still have this thing that you are responsible for when it hits the market. So as a creative entrepreneur, I think that the analogy of a producer and the analogy is valid for any creative entrepreneur. So you think your brain is wired to bring together these two worlds, reason and creation, art and business. And by the way, the name of my company is Both Worlds, because very early on I thought about this, that, you know, these two worlds, reason and creation, art and business, here and there, north and south, it's a balance you constantly have to achieve. You never achieve it, but that's an horizon. So you think you've answered yes to all these questions? Then here's a very summarized checklist for any creative entrepreneur who wants to start a sound business. It's not only a business, but as you go from one project to another, because the creative entrepreneur, it's not a straight line. Everything is a project. Everything is a project, whether it's a new design line, whether it's a new film, whether it's a new album, everything is going to be project managed. So you need to ask these questions for every project that you launch. Firstly, and this is kind of the more boring part, we'll get into examples later, identify your niche and your USP, your unique selling proposition. That means what you're best at, where you have a unique advantage, where your talent lies. Not necessarily where your passion is, again, from what Prop G was saying, but where you feel that you have a definite competitive advantage over others, whatever that means. Define also what drives you and your creative venture, what makes it special, and how it can become sustainable long-term. Be ready for those tensions that will arise to maintain the artistic integrity and achieve commercial success. Do the thing that you might get taught at school, at business school, or if you do night classes, try to put a business model together for the things that you launch. Doesn't need to be, a 1,000-column spreadsheet, but just think about it. Just think realistically about what is the cash flow you're going to need? What are the needs of this particular budget? Be conservative. And in general, in your business, avoid being mono-client. Try to spread your source of income, of monetization. Practice careful financial planning. Don't expect to get rich personally quickly. Don't. If you're getting into the creative entrepreneur business to get rich quickly, don't. Again, it's 1 in 1,000 chance to get rich quickly. You might get a lot of satisfaction from what you do, and if you have a lot of luck, you might become very successful. But if you want to make money, there are other ways of making money quickly. And then finally, go out and make friends. It's about, your virtual Rolodex is your best asset in the creative industries. Again, you must grow it, maintain it all the time. Because also being a creative entrepreneur, whether you're a visual artist, whether you're a musician, whether you're a film producer, can be a very lonely practice. I forgot the famous words, but it takes a lot of people claim success. When you achieve success, will claim success alongside you. But if you fail, you'll be very lonely. Failing is a very lonely exercise. Who you know contributes in no insignificant way to who you are. Let's move into examples, and I just want to, I'm drawing examples from my own personal practice. As the ambassador kindly introduced me before, I run a production company called Both Worlds. I started Both Worlds over 25 years ago when I first came to South Africa. Just as a little bit more background, I came to South Africa in 1998 at a time where there were more people leaving South Africa than coming. The outgoing lounge was much fuller than the incoming lounge at Cape Town International. But I was fortunate enough that my family and my wife in particular was willing to take the bet that we could live in a different country, take that new challenge, because that's what it was. It was a new challenge, and also the choice of a different lifestyle for ourselves and for our family. It was a wonderful, it has been a wonderful lifestyle. And the challenge is the gift that keeps on giving. Life in South Africa and on the continent, as you know, is not for the faint-hearted. The reason why I left France is I felt that the image for me was a beautiful puzzle. It's like a wonderful image that's a puzzle. All the pieces are there together. There might be one or two missing pieces, but nothing moves. It's very difficult to have an influence. When we came to South Africa in 1998, the pieces of the puzzles were not in place. There were a few pieces in place, but a lot still had to go in. And so it felt like we could play a part. We could do something to create that overall picture and make it, make the country come together. So I started off with a project that I had in mind from my years at M6. As the ambassador said, I started a TV channel called M6, which is one of the, today, thanks to the whole team and also to luck to a certain extent, one of the most successful TV channels in France, but also in Europe. It's become a media group. I bought the rights to a TV show called Spinning Image that you might be familiar with. It was a show made in the UK that was the most successful show on primetime TV back then, which was a satirical political show with latex puppets of famous people, celebrities, politicians, etc. And it took the mickey out of everybody and anybody, the Queen, the politicians, the foreign leaders, celebrities, and it was ferocious. And we bought the rights to broadcast this in prime time. It was successful, and we tried to put it to adapt it for a channel, to create something on M6 that would be the equivalent. Unfortunately, M6 was too small at the time. We didn't have the money. We couldn't put it together. The team that we had tasked with making it took it to Canal+, which you may know about. Canal+ is a pay TV channel in France and Africa. And they put it together. And it became, for 25 years, the most successful show on Canal+. Every day at 8 o'clock, people would watch the Guignol, Les Guignols de l'Info, from, children to 60 plus. And when I came to South Africa, I had this idea. I couldn't make it in France. Let's see if I could make it in the new South Africa, because I believe that South Africa was, as a new country, a new democracy, a place where there was, from the chessboard of politicians and politics and was so rich and varied, from the extreme right of the white supremacist Eugene Terblanche to the revolutionaries of the PAC, with everything in between, and where politics had been violent, but now had become, we're on the way to becoming a lot more controlled, a lot more so-called civilized in Parliament, where everybody was being represented and where there was some freedom that was coming to, obviously, to media and to broadcasting. So I pitched the idea of a show that will be the equivalent of Spinning Image and Les Guignols de l'Info to the SABC, and then to ETV and to Mnet. And this is the show you have in the middle called Puppet Nation, which we also known as ZA News, which I pitched for, oops, let me go back. Yeah, for about 10 years. ZA News Puppet Nation, before it got some traction. I'm going to show you a presentation of what the show looked like after 8 years, because after 10 years of pitching it and of being rejected, we finally made it. Not at all like I had planned on that I thought it would be made, but I'll tell you I'll show you later how we got it made. But for those of you who don't know the show, I'm just going to play you the trailer that we played in 2016 in New York when we were nominated at the International Emmy Awards for a show that got rejected by every broadcaster in the country.
When you play the game of chronics, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. Unless you are me, then you keep winning. This Uruguay does not always pay his debts. Pay that money.
In case you're wondering, the guy he's referring to here is actually our president. Yep, this guy, Jacob Zuma, the president of South Africa. And he plays a big part in Puppet Nation. You see, what we do at Puppet Nation is we take the real news and we make it funny. Because I gotta have facts.
I gotta have facts. Because we gotta have facts. We gotta have facts.
These clowns disrespected my camp.
Kanye's mad.
Kanye is real mad.
I bet UST's mood and low mood in heaven right now.
Without colonialism, we wouldn't have had a great leader like Nelson Mandela. In a way, he was a direct result of colonialism.
There seems to be an issue with our microphones. One second, please. Like the US presidential race.
That's evidence that more people should be shot to make America great again.
Good day on the campaign trail.
Brilliant day. I think I've got them all fooled.
All up-and-coming politicians.
Whoever comes to you with a coalition offer, he's a traitor. Could be a she. I'm consent.
Yes.
Can I trust you? No. Hopefully.
And celebrity exports.
Local comics can now afford to eat. It's a pleasure. You can thank me.
Trouble scoring. I'm prepared for you, son. I've got 99 guns for this pitch.
Yeah? Hell, even the world of advertising isn't safe from us.
All day, all night moisturizer helps to combat neoliberals and radical freedom fighters with its ANC and NPA resistant formula.
So now that you know all that, back to the show.
We need to defend against the rise of the white workers. Their reign of terror is history.
The castle walls are high and full of security upgrades.
As you can imagine, we get to satirize politics every single week. Things can get explosive.
Damn it, that film is still there.
Light the fire pool. Winter is coming. Puppet Nation ZA. Make love, not eat.
Yes, so this show, which we won many awards and were nominated for the Emmy Awards, never made it to any of these channels. When I pitched to the SABC, we were told our people are not ready for it. When we pitched it to ETV, they told us, we don't have any money for it. When we pitched it to Mnet, they said, we can't do news. You know, this is because of our license conditions. You know, we never thought we were doing news, we were doing entertainment. But anyway, so because we couldn't go, nobody was going to take it, we decided to, and I guess I was really fixated on making it happen. I felt that there was an appetite in the country and that the gatekeepers could be, we could go around the traditional gatekeepers, which is what we did thanks to the internet. And what we did is instead of finding a home on one channel, we just found help from a lot of friends. And some of them, it's interesting because if you look at the broadcasters that we have here, Star Times, which eventually broadcasted the show, is a TV platform that was initially called Top TV, which was bought by a Chinese firm called Star Times. And they decided to take the show on, even though satire is not a thing in China, as you know. That could take you to a labor camp if you do such things as joke about their politicians and about their leaders. But because this was not about China and not China in China, we managed to get a little bit of money from them, and we aired it also on Cape Town TV for free. We found media partners in the Mail and Guardian, IOL, the Daily Maverick. We found sponsors with brave sponsors like Kulula, like Nando's, like Web Africa. We went into retail partnership by making stuff like books, magazines, and even a game, a board game. Social channels, all over social channels. And then we got grants from the Open Society Foundation, the Prince Claus Foundation, which are international foundations that support the arts and creative expression and freedom of expression, and the DTI, where in those days was still functional, we could get the rebate. So we went around the traditional gatekeepers and we found a cloud of income to support our show for almost 10 years. That's the alternative way of producing. I saw a hand going up somewhere. Sorry. Feel free to.
It was.
Yes.
Hi, it was my hand. Sorry to disturb your incredible presentation. I just wanted to find out if you had any legal pushback, from the people who were being sort of what's the word? Referenced in the series.
Interesting question, Tebe. Thanks for that. No, because this wasn't a format. I don't want to go into the legalities of what's being portrayed, what's not in general. But what we're doing is creating life-size latex puppets of famous people, celebrities, and giving them voices who are mimic artists, comedians, and then writing the script and then putting TV shows together. That is not something that is a protectable IP. That was done in the UK, that was done in France, that was even done in Russia, that was done in India, that was done also in Kenya with the XYZ show.
Okay.
That was done in Spain. Some of them were, let's say, ventures coming from the UK, and some of them were not. The creator of the original show, Spinning Image, Roger Lowe, even came to us to do a documentary on us for the BBC on what he called his bastard children. It was called South Africa Spits Back. And he came and he spent a week with us, and he did this fabulous radio and TV piece about how in South Africa we had done something similar to Spinning Image, or not similar, but comparable to. But it wasn't considered a ripoff. It was just considered inspiration. And Roger Lowe even made a presentation to us about how art doesn't exist if it doesn't borrow from someone or something else. That art is imitation. It's intrinsic to any creative expression. And I found that not only extremely generous, but also incredibly true. Thank you for that question. And please feel free to ask questions. I love it when it's interactive. Moving on to another example that's got nothing to do with puppets. This is real, and this is closer in time. The Morning After is a TV series that Both Worlds produced last year, and which was released on the Amazon Prime Video platform just over a month ago in July. This took about 20 years to go from the original idea to something that could be seen by the public. And that seems like an incredible time, and probably an incredible waste of time. But think about that squiggly line. It was not a linear process. I put the idea back in the drawer many times. I pulled it out when I thought that people might be interested, when I met broadcasters or executives, or went to conferences or was in meetings where people were expressing the need for a show like that. And there was pushback. I put it back in the drawer until at some point there was a connection that was made. It was a very simple, idea, and then it became a script when I decided to write a first draft, invest my time into writing the first draft, and then getting a friend of mine, writer, to polish that first draft. It got traction, but at the end it didn't get made. 10 years later, it got some traction, didn't get made. Then a couple of years ago, Showmax showed interest in it, because Showmax, the reason why it didn't get made before, it was called too edgy. It was too edgy. It was too, it just couldn't get made for South African TV. And until 3 years ago, when Showmax arrived, and Showmax was looking for edgy shows. And they looked at the script, they looked at the pilot script and said, yeah, we'll invest money into development. We'll commission scripts from you to write all 8 scripts. We put a writing room together. We hired 2 script writers from South Africa, 2 script writers from the UK. We had a writing room of 6, and we wrote those scripts, and they were easy to write because it just flowed so nicely. And we thought it was going to be a home run. Showmax was going to commission it from us. The scripts were made, they loved it, and then they told us, so we changed tack. We don't want to make this kind of show anymore. We want to make shows that resonate with the Afrikaans audience. We want to make shows that resonate, that are in vernacular language, and we don't want to make edgy shows like that. We want to go a bit more mainstream. God, again, we rejection again. Instead of bearing it, we decided, okay, let's see if we can find other buyers for these scripts, if we can put it together differently. So I got the rights back, and then attended Berlinale, met with German execs from the public TV there, who mentioned that they were looking for shows for young people, something that not in German, shows in English, that were made from regions of the world that the Germans hadn't seen work from yet. And that was interesting. I sent them the scripts. At the same time, Amazon was exploring making shows in South Africa. That's You may know that they left South Africa earlier this year, but that was a couple of years ago. They were looking for shows for Africa and South Africa. So we managed to put this show together. I'm going to show you a quick trailer of what the show looks like, and then I'll tell you how we put it together.
Hi, I'm Nina. Bless her, bless her. I just woke up on a beach and been alone 6,000 miles away from home. We've all been there, right? I'm on my own 12-step program. Party hard. Find a home.
Welcome to the house of fun, baby.
Find a job.
You sit there and look pretty. Any special talents I should know about?
I like to deep throat. On the house. Make, what do we say, friends? Find a boyfriend, if I can be asked. Oh, and maybe get my shit together. I'm not an alky. Like these lot, no offense. I haven't had a drop, promise.
Do you have a gag reflex?
The most important thing is that my mum can never find out. Ever.
Have you seen this? Your uncle sent it to me. He found it on your cousin's phone when you were snooping.
How hard can it be? I can't fix my shit in sunny Cape Town. Is there really any hope for me?
I'm hearing that there might be sound problems. I don't know if you could all hear the sound. It's playing through the presentation. We tested it, was playing well. I'm not sure if it's because of the Zoom or the streaming, but I'm not sure how to improve on the sound. And I apologize if some of you are not hearing good enough sound. So this show is, you know, is meant for a global audience, but also for South African audience, for a particular South African audience, which is 20, 30-year-olds who can relate to the story, can relate to the characters, can relate to the world. And we made something quite different to what's usually made for mainstream broadcasters in South Africa. We hear it's been successful on Prime Video, and it's going to drop in Germany in February. Here we go. So on this next slide, I'm showing you how we put it together. So you saw in the previous one that we couldn't go to the traditional TV stations. Here as well, that wouldn't fit on the traditional South African TV station. But we went into a different financing route. There was interest from Amazon Prime and interest from the German public broadcaster ARD. But this is not a traditional commissioning model. They don't put money up front. So how do we finance something like that? In South Africa, it's very difficult to find a bank to finance your project. They don't understand the industry, especially the film industry. The traditional commercial banks do not lend money to film producers, to creative entrepreneurs in general, unless they have assets as collaterals, or unless they have, you know, things like a machinery or building, plants, anything that is IP, anything that is non-tangible. Banks in South Africa and most banks on the continent don't really understand. And that's unfortunate because, you know, they in the world of art and creation and film and fashion and design, all of that, you don't want to invest in brick and mortar. You invest in intellectual property, because this is what also will bring you success, is owning that intellectual property. So because we had contracts, pre-sales, and the South African banks would lend to us, I decided to go to my traditional French partner, Paradoxal, who's a TV and film production company in France. And we went to a specialist bank called Coficine. And they hadn't done business in South Africa for a long time, but because we had a good track record and Paradoxal was run by an exec that with a good track record, they lent to us the money to produce, and they were going to get the money from Prime Video and ARD. So that's called cash flowing. And cash flowing is really important in our business because often you have to produce and then you will see the money once it's produced and when it gets sold, whether it's sold to the end users or sold to middlemen or sold to a buyer of your business. And then we also found a global sales agent with Federation Studio. So this engineering is crucial to make your project from a single idea to something that you can deliver. But I would find that in Africa and South Africa, the weak point is finding the financial partner, the bank that's willing to lend you the money, even when you have a blue chip partner like Amazon Prime or ARD with a contract that says on delivery, we will pay you. Because there is this problem that's called performance that these lending committees have, credit committees. They see, oh, but you only get paid if you perform. What if you don't perform? How do we get our money back? And this is where you need to get to specialist banks, and this is where there's a market in Africa. And I'm sure that there's some, in France, we have these banks, these financial institutions that know about IP, know about the creative industries, and we're slowly stepping into the continent as well to help entrepreneurs build businesses based on intangible assets, mostly your ideas, your IP, rather than machinery and buildings. I want to give another example, which is what the ambassador kindly referred to as a hit, Recipes for Love and Murder, which is a TV series which season 1 dropped about 2 years ago on Mnet and is now available on Showmax, which we also made thanks to a partnership, an international co-production. It's based on pre-existing IP. It's based on the books by Sally Andrew, a South African author. And I want to go back to this squiggly line. I hadn't planned on buying the rights to this book. The reason I stumbled on this book is because I was chasing another book, a book by Dion Mayer, that a lot of people were chasing. And I lost the bidding war. As an independent, it's very difficult to win bidding wars against bigger companies, against studios, against streamers. And I lost that one. I was very unhappy because I thought I really knew how to turn this book. I thought I knew how to turn this book into a great TV series. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the rights to it. The agent, who was feeling for me, sent me another book saying, here's another book. If you have time during your Christmas break, have a read. You might like it. A lot of readers in South Africa have liked it. It seems to be picking up. The sales are picking up. It's a quirky murder mystery written in a delightful way, and it has a world. Just read it. I read it because over Christmas is usually the best time for me to shut down my computer, my phone, and read. And I loved it. It was an easy read, and I found that it had what is usually needed for a film or TV series. A compelling protagonist, a unique tone to the story that was both quirky and at the same time meaningful, and a world, a very unique and different world. So I decided to option the rights. And that one when we pitched it to Mnet and then to the international partners, they all loved it. It was an easy sell. It didn't take 10 years, 20 years. It took about 2 years from inception to delivery, which is in our world of film and TV, pretty quick. And now we have just finished season 2, which we're about to deliver. It will be on Mnet in January and probably around the world before. That show was sold to 95 countries around the world, and it has resonated from viewers in South Africa and Africa and the rest of the continent in ways that I didn't imagine possible. Let me play you the trailer.
I'm so glad you're ready to take things to the next level. If you want to do that with a bang, fine. I'll do it with a bang. Taste it. You're fired. Fired. All of these are people needing help. In order to woo your potential paramour, you'll need a great deal of courage, a freshly washed face, and some eggs from a happy hen. I'm busy with a seduction recipe.
You think they told them?
Well, I needed to be sure.
We deserve answers.
I know exactly who the murderer is.
Detective, everything under control.
I highly doubt it.
My vegetable.
And P.S., for the full effect, just trust me. I'm so glad you're ready to take things to the next level. If you want to do that with a bang, fine. I'll do it with a bang.
Here we go. Sorry about that. So this is how we put the show together. This time we have a local TV partner with MultiChoice. They have the Mnet channels, Showmax, Zanzi, Keknet, etc. As you may know, Canal Plus is in the process of taking over MultiChoice. I'm waiting for approval from the competition authorities and broadcast authorities. The international TV partner was the American group AMC Networks, and they have a streamer called Acorn, which do a lot of these British-style quirky murder mysteries. So they came from the very beginning as a partner based on the scripts. Our international partners, as usual, Paradoxal, who helped us with the international deals, and a Scottish production company called Pirate Productions, who helped us land a grant from Creative Scotland. And then international sales by Global Screen, a German company. So you have an African player, an American player, a French player, a Scottish player, and a German player. That's what it takes to do co-productions these days. And how do you do it? Well, it takes a lot of spending time going to the markets, going to festivals, going to conferences, getting to know people, getting them to trust you, and starting small, starting with smaller projects, with short films, with smaller series, partnering up with bigger companies, giving them the assurance that you will deliver. What I just said about banks not lending because of performance, well, everybody has, is concerned about whether you'll be able to deliver when it comes to film, TV, because these are huge investments. We're talking tens of millions of rand or hundreds sometimes. These are big productions. So this is the circle of friendship, the circle of connections that when they come together, you do those business deals, those legal deals, and the creative process can move forward. And I think that I would say in most of the creative industries, that's how it's done, even though probably film is probably the most difficult one because it is probably the most collaborative creative industry. You can't work alone. You have to work with hundreds of people on set and lots of different partners to make anything happen. Final thoughts. The world is your oyster. You know, once I've said all of that, nobody knows anything. You need to have luck. You know, you're likely to fail. You're likely to be rejected. I want to end with some very reassuring and positive words. Today, I think that today, the world has an appetite for new and different perspectives, more so than in the past. Globalization has had some negative impacts. Well, you know, nationalism has arisen as in Europe, in America, and other parts of the world, because they feel under threat. But it has opened the world to smaller nations and to emerging countries who can show their new perspective, new creations with different cultural backgrounds, different cultural perspectives. And I think it has a competitive edge today. I've seen a lot of African creators being welcomed on the world stage, whether it is film festival or art shows, music festivals. There's a lot of appetite for the African perspective. As I was saying, opportunity for smaller nations. It's part of a also digital transformation. The fact that even more so since COVID, everybody has the same. Everything has become shorter and closer, like we're doing today. We can address people from the same country, from the same continent, from around the world on one platform. And when you had to travel to LA to pitch to an agent, to pitch to a studio, now you can do it over Zoom. And people in Hollywood will also have to do it over Zoom to the people next door in the valley, the studios who are in the valley next door. So whether you're a couple of kilometers away or halfway across the world, you can reach the same people. And today we've seen that thanks to those platforms like Netflix, Spotify, Artsy, artists and creative talents from emerging countries have managed to find an audience, whether it is in music with, you know, artists like Burna Boy and artists like Elena Tsui or Ibrahim Mahama, whose works are featured all over the world in galleries and museums, have also managed to reach buyers across the world and galleries across the world, thanks to the fact that the world has become smaller. Same with fashion brands. And let's not even talk about Trevor Noah, the way he's managed to become one of the top entertainers and media moguls in America in a matter of years. After obviously paying his dues, it didn't happen like that. It happened through hard work and patience. There's another thing to be learned, which is go local. You can't produce or do anything straight to the global stage. It needs to feel local first. It needs to feel authentic. It needs to be rooted in a local reality. Basically, you need to find your local audience, your viewers, your fans, people who will buy work, who will watch your work, who will listen to your record, buy your clothes locally, find appreciation locally before jumping over and becoming a global phenomenon. But anything that works internationally feels really rooted locally. On Netflix, shows like Casa de Papel, which became an international phenomenon. First, it was a very local show. Same with the Squid Games. That was a very local creation, very local show. It wasn't like Netflix said, let's do something that works globally that would start in Korea. No, that's not the way it works. So when you do something here and you want to achieve global success, first of all, think of your local audience. Make sure that it connects and that it feels authentic. There are no shortcuts. And then I would say collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. It's the best way to broaden your horizon, to find your truth, to find your vision, to innovate. And cross collaborations between disciplines, in Africa in particular, I find absolutely crucial. New tech, including AI that everybody's talking about these days, is blurring the borders between disciplines. Whether it's animation or computer technology, fashion, writing, painting, all of that is coming together. Photography, all of that is coming together. And I want to end by showing an example, which is not new, something that was done in 2007, I believe. Yes, I think so. Before Black Panther was released by Marvel. Black Panther that's created a global phenomenon of, what was called African futurism. But before that happened, there was a campaign started by a ad agency along with a client that thought of something very new, radically different, and about cross-disciplinary collaboration. And that initially you could see the connection with the brand, but at the end, they delivered that connection. It worked really well for the brand. I'm gonna show you that video, and I hope the sound works well because it's a beautiful music by Kudi Chana. And then I'll talk to you about this particular business case. Yeah.
It's not showing on our side, eh? Excuse me, Thierry, the video doesn't seem to be playing.
Yeah, I can see the video. I just can't hear the sound, but but the whole video is played on my side.
Video is also playing on my side.
Same here.
It's playing on my side as well.
Sorry, I'm hearing that the sound is not playing?
Yeah, we could see the video, but not the sound. I think only one person couldn't see the video either. But I mean, I think we kind of get what's going on. Would have been better
so
with.
Sorry. We tested it before, and I thought the sound was playing through. It's a pity because the soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. Technical glitches, but I think you're getting the gist. I'm just going to tell you about this. This is a campaign by the brand Absolute, which belongs to the French liquor group, spirits and liquor group Pernod Ricard, and with an agency based in Cape Town. They came up. There was VML, yes, VML from Young and Ribacam Group. They came up with this concept that was delivered by a Zim director, Sunu Gunera, and they brought fashion designers, choreographers, photographers, VFX artists, and they shot this in Ghana. And it became the most awarded campaigns of 2007. It won a couple of Golden Lions in Cannes. And just after that, the Black Panther movie came out. And everybody thought that it had been inspired by Black Panther, but no, that wasn't. That followed a different track. And this kind of African futurism is something that's been talked about a lot in film and TV over the last few years, but hasn't really been achieved. What I want to say is that here it took, the vision of creatives collaborating across disciplines and decide to do it with a brand that believed in the concept. And today, I would say on the continent, you need to work like that across disciplines, and like we did with Puppet Nation Zanus, find brands that are ready to play the game, brands that are that have vision, but work with anything that will trust your vision and put in the hard work. And I just wanted to end on that particular case because it always fascinated me, and I'm still trying to find ways to produce something that will be a TV series or a film that has this amazing look, fantastic soundtrack, authenticity, and that cuts right across what we see currently on screens. And that's it. And I just want to end by saying, you guys, the creative entrepreneurs that are part of this particular class, have the talent. Now may the luck and the force be with you. And we have 25 minutes for questions and interactions.
Thank you very much, Thierry, for this powerful masterclass and just of being noting certain things here. And I think even if someone wasn't in the CCI sector, he will be very interested in the content that you provided today. And mainly, one thing that I've noticed that you've been talking about, but not maybe mentioning directly, is about the human capital. It's very important for each entrepreneur to step out there, to talk to people about their project, to have the sales skills, to know exactly how to sell their product, their services. So I think that is one of the very, very much important things, especially as an entrepreneur. But many thanks, and we'll just move to the next session, as you said, to just have a few questions from the entrepreneurs. We still have about 25 minutes. Yes, so we have the first question coming from Tabo.
Hi, Thierry, and hi to everyone else. Thank you so much for the presentation, man. It was really dope. I have a lot of questions. I don't think I have enough time to ask you all these questions, but I'm a big fan of your work. I actually worked on a video game called Poo Weekly, which is an acronym for Point of Order. And some of it was inspired by watching Puppet Nation. I actually even went as far as to track Jonathan down and got him to work with us on the video game. And yeah, man, I think I just want to like just jump to it. Like I want to be your friend. I want us like just like the presentation, like how you went through the presentation about having like friends in the industry and being able to use the networks. The challenges that you faced are similar to the challenges that we also currently face, because we also like make a lot of edgy games or games that are based off of social commentary, and we have found ourselves serving a specific niche, and we do see there's potential with our games. I don't think we would have been here or have won some of the awards that we've won if we didn't see like the value. It's just and I think it's something that I want to learn from you. How do I take the conversation to the next level where I can like speak to specific partners and get in those rooms where I can show them that this game has potential, And yeah, like I just want to be your friend. I want to tell Jonathan that I met up with you right now on the call and ask him why didn't he like introduce us before. But that's just me. Like that's what I want us to have like a conversation outside of this, because I have a lot of questions. A lot.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you. That's quite serendipitous. The game industry is so much bigger than the film industry. It is a huge business, a huge industry that that spans right across the world, and we know that developers are networked and work together on projects that can take years and millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to develop, that are way larger than the biggest blockbuster movies. So that's certainly part of the creative industries. It's part of it's a big business that's becoming a lot more centralized as well. There used to be a lot of players. Now those players have amalgamated, and it's dominated by a few mammoth or behemoth. But I think there's still potential at every ecosystem. When it's dominated by a few dominant players, that also means that there's opportunity for smaller ones to come up with radical new ideas. So I would encourage you to go out and just know about your industry, about the market, just create those connections, that human capital, whether it's online or in real person. If there are some market conventions you can attend or courses you can follow, this is definitely a growing industry. And again, it's a cross-disciplinary industry. That's also what's very what gives it so much potential as well. And you can be just a developer, a coder, or you can be a designer, you can be an animator, you can be a voice artist, you can be a writer. All of these people are involved in the making of games.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I said, I have a lot to speak about. Because the type of games that we make are not like the conventional games that, well, the gamers enjoy our games because we try and keep the game fun, because that's what we love doing. We want to like play or create games that are fun because that's what we love playing. But we also have like the main focus is like the themes and the social impact that we're trying to push, and how we want to like try and develop industries right now. Because right now what's happening in the gaming industry is like really bad, because like you mentioned, there's a lot of companies that are like swallowed up these smaller studios and these smaller companies, and the streaming platforms are also playing a big role in the gaming industry right now. And there's a lot of people that are getting like job cuts and retrenchments that are happening in the gaming industry. That's so big right now. Like even publishers are not looking at publishing games. So there is that opportunity of like, and we see it, like we see like this gap that's open right now for the next evolution of gaming, of games that are being created, where it's not just the player, wasting their time or using their time to play the game just to have fun, but they can also get like some value from playing the games that we create. And I think that's where we see a gap and opportunity, and it's something that I really like to talk to you about. I don't know when you're available, when you're free, but I'm really serious and been pushing this thing for a while now. And just to get like your expert advice on certain things. I know we're not in the
As they say, DM me after this.
industry, but yeah.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Jimmy.
Yeah, hi, Thierry, and hi, everybody. Could you guys just let me share my screen for my questions? And Thierry, like, wow, man, that was, bro, I love you, man. That was thrilling. That was really thrilling. I mean, I took some notes as well. You know, you talk about luck and chance. I think that there's this thin difference between luck and chance. And I think the more chances you take, the luckier you get. I'll tell you my little story real quick. I grew up in the world of music. I've worked with, you know, Wyclef Jean, Akon. I released an album with David Gresham with Sony Music. I met up with Olivier from Trace, so you know I helped him set up, Trace in South Africa a little bit. I created a TV concept called it was like a mobile song contest where you could enter this contest by recording your song on a phone call. You know, kind of like Idols, except you did it over a phone call. And then well, the screen sharing is still disabled. I really wanted to show you this. Perhaps one of the coordinators will enable it soon. But then I created something else called The Coolest OGs, which is a TV, a reality show where 12 older people over the age of 60 are competing in a series of fun and exciting challenges with their grandkids to see who the coolest OG is, Sold that to license it to SABC and to Showmax and to Netflix. Recently sold it to Banerjee as well. I gave them the rights to develop it outside of Africa and kept the rights for Africa. But the reason that I'm in this program is because of the project that I'm working on called Mood Swing. So Mood Swing is an application, a digital application that allows you to add background music to all your conversations based on your mood. So you know how when you send someone a voice note, you can add music to that voice note based on your mood. When you're making a phone call or a video call, you can instantly choose how you feel and add background music to it. And the reason that I want you to jump into this real quick is because we're working, and I love what you said about, sales and being able to, to do partnerships. And by the way, I don't know how you can wait 8 to 10 years pitching or 20. I mean, that's just an incredible amount of patience. You got to have some money to be patient too sometimes, to be real though. But
as I said, it's not a linear process. It's a squiggly line. You got to do other stuff in between. Just keep it in a drawer in your mind somewhere.
I hear you, but I mean, I think that's really inspiring, that you would have, waited that long. But basically, I just wanted to kind of, make you a proposal as well. Is, we're gonna have we're working on potentially having TV shows and films. So the soundtracks to TV shows or the soundtracks to films on the application. So, for example, I'm talking to Banerjee right now about potentially getting, some of their titles, and the idea would be that you could use the instrumental versions of that series as soundtrack to have conversations. Do you know what I mean? And so they could use it as a marketing tool as well. And I would love to do that with The Morning After. Because I mean, I've never seen Cape Town shot so beautifully, by the way. It looked like a Hollywood production. So really well done on that. I mean, those like long plans, and it looks super fresh. So again, I don't expect you to answer right now, but I'll definitely be into. But I wanted to know, from your, do you think that could help, filmmakers and TV series producers if they could use sort of the music side, if obviously all the rights are cleared, perhaps they have some original music that they've created for that series or for that show, if they could use that in an app like Mood Swing to promote their film, do you think that could be good?
I don't know. You got to try. You seem to have the connections there. So all you got to do is demonstrate that it works on a small scale, that they can, that it performs, and that it can find a market. It's a business case that you're gonna need to demonstrate. And I don't know. Anything absolutely possible. Go for it. The world of music is, from a film producer point of view, is a minefield. We keep on clearing rights, and we find out, there's more rights to be cleared and more writers involved, more composers involved, more producers involved. It's a very complicated world. A few people make a lot of money from music, but 99.9% of the people don't make enough to live from their music. So it's become even more unequal than it was, when there were real albums and CDs and vinyls, etc. It's become a very different world. But when it comes to the use of music, we know how catalogs and libraries, how valuable they are. The majors have bought huge libraries, huge catalogs for a lot of money because they know that they can squeeze a lot of value from them. So yes, if you think that you have a business case, you just need to demonstrate it and knock on those doors. We have another question.
We have another question from Chimwemwe, and then after that, we also have 2-3 questions coming from the eCoco platform. And so they're in the chat, unless Thierry, you want me to read it, but you can first get the question from Chimwemwe and Rafik from Malawi.
Good afternoon, Thierry. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this masterclass. We're learning so much, and it's also really inspiring to get validation, because we're kind of experiencing a lot of what you talked about, and we also have similar views to what you talked about. So thank you for this masterclass. Our question basically is, from your squiggly line, it looks like you've had to do a lot of pitching to different players. I mean, you have to pitch a concept to maybe a channel or like a streaming service provider so they can pick up your idea. And then you also have to pitch the financial viability of that project, maybe to different players who are going to help you finance that. How do you, navigate through that process? It seems like it's extremely daunting. I'm sorry, by the way, we are a partnership based in Malawi. We're also a film production company. So it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Yes, well, I don't know how. I think it's really about putting hard work into your pitch until you've honed it. You pitch it to your first circle, to your second circle, to your third circle, and you try to poke holes into it to see how does it work, doesn't it work, and if you think that it's ready to take it out, you need to find partners who will be able to support you along the way, especially if you come from a country where there isn't a strong ecosystem. And I believe Malawi would be a wonderful place as a shooting destination, a shooting location, but hasn't got a lot of infrastructure and hasn't got a strong ecosystem when it comes to the creative industries in general and the film industry in particular. So I would say try to meet with people like you're doing now from countries that have a stronger infrastructure and see how your concept or your pitch can resonate with them. If your story is universal enough, and to be universal, it needs to be deeply personal. That's the paradox. To be universal, it needs to be deeply human and personal. It needs to reflect a human experience that is shared by many. So if that is the case, then try to reach out to a partner that has access to the infrastructure, to the human capital, to the financial capital, to the resources to go to the next base. You start from a base which is not what a Hollywood producer or producer in France might start from. They start from second or third base already because they have that ecosystem, that support infrastructure. You don't have that. So you need to get to that first base or second base through partnerships and collaborations. Once you're there, you'll find it a lot easier to pitch it to the right people and to get people to pay attention.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for your question. Should we start with the first question coming from Victor Zikalala? No, Zikala. Sorry. He says, thank you for this unique masterclass. How do we source funding for animation which is highly expensive to produce? We already have the script and storyboard with the Pan-African Illustrations 2085.
Where is he based?
I think Victor should be based in Malawi, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he is on the chat on the YouTube platform. But I think, yeah, you can maybe just attend the question while I'm trying to find out.
I think if he can't source the support in Malawi through government initiatives or private-public partnership initiatives, IFAS and the platforms that IFAS has is the place that you need to investigate. There are initiatives that Emmanuel, who is on the call, I'm sure can refer him to, that are about the development of African animation. There have been public-private partnerships about that. There's some government grants. There's some foreign grants. There's some broadcasters or platforms that have been involved in commissioning short-form animated films in the form of anthology series or collections. So first, you start with the best proposal. Whether it's a pitch deck or what was called an animatic, basically a test, a minute or two line test forms of your animation. You try to do it on your own, and then you go and find those, what's called the development money that's available. It's very difficult to go straight to a private broadcaster or a streamer or even a public channel. It's better to go through these initiatives. In South Africa, you've got the NAVF. I don't know if there's the equivalent of the NAVF in Malawi, but IFAS, I'm sure, and Emmanuel can send Victor some links to the best initiatives to support animation on the continent.
Thank you for that. I think it also answers to the second question that Cablo Studio asked. So I'll just move to the third question. It says, how can we shorten the time it takes for our content? Okay, for our content being accepted by broadcasters, or how can we package our films such that we can shorten the time to green light?
Wow, if I had the answer to that, I would have saved a lot of years and a lot of white hair from my head. I don't have the answer to that. The only answer I have ready is don't bet on one. Have a number of projects, have a lot of projects. Don't invest too much on one single one. Have lots of different projects, one-liners, 1 2-pager, 3-pagers. Don't get too invested in one. Have several of them. Don't get too attached to one. Have a lot of them. And if one takes off, you will get attached to that one. This will become your champion. So in order to shorten the process, like I was explaining in the different projects that I showed, some of them have taken 20 years from the idea, some 10, and one just took 2 years to put a series together is relatively a short time, because you do a lot within those 2 years. You need to achieve a lot from the idea to delivery. So unfortunately, broadcasters and streamers will take their own time to answer you. The issue is that you're not the only one. While they are the only one to you, you are the multitude to them. So that's why there is this asymmetry and why it feels like it takes forever to get an answer. Unfortunately, there's no solution to that except to have lots of different projects, not be monocline. Don't focus on one product. Don't focus on one project. See as many people as possible with lots of different projects.
All right. I think, yeah, there is the last question that we had online. I don't know if there is any other question from the entrepreneurs. Well, apparently we don't have any other question. So thank you very much, Thierry, for the masterclass. I wish Emmanuel, I don't know if she'll be able to maybe say a final word, because I've seen that the ambassador has left the call as well. But yeah, on the behalf of the French Institutes and the French Embassy, we would like to thank you for being part of this Creation Africa initiative, which, as you may know, is about boosting entrepreneurship, cultural entrepreneurship in South Africa, Lesotho, and Malawi. And it's such a pleasure, to have figures like you to be part of this initiative. So it gives more credibility to everything that we're trying to work on, and the initiative that we're building right now. So many thanks to you for availing yourself. As I told you, your 2 hours, just like 15 minutes, because I personally didn't feel like, I spent about 2 hours sitting here and listening to this wonderful masterclass. So we thank you for your time and your dedication to this program, and wishing you all the best. So thank you very much, Thierry.
Thank you, Jonathan, and all the best to this class. I look forward to seeing your projects mature, develop, and flourish, and we'll be in touch.
Right. Thank you. Bye-bye.